Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. So I created a cool little Google Doc. And if you guys want a copy of this information, just let me know and I'll share with you by email or in the Facebook Messenger. All right, fantastic. Let me know you guys can share, you guys can see my screen, not share my screen, but see my screen. I'm gonna put in the chat here. Pamela asks, will this be the only class? Pamela, this will be the only free class. So just to give you guys a little heads up, the reason why this class is free because I am preparing a more of a premium version of this class, like a bigger version of this class. So this will be the only free class for tonight, and I am recording it, so you guys can have the luxury to watch the recording. But the next time I do this class, which will probably be later on in the summer, it will be a paid version, and which will have more information. So think of this training kind of like the synopsis, the surface level information, so to speak. And yeah, so this this will be the only free class. All right, so just to give you a heads up, Pamela, and I am recording this call for those who wants a copy of this class. Fantastic. Can everybody see my screen? Thumbs up. Thumbs up if you guys can see my screen, or say yes, you can see my screen in the chat. That way I can just know when to get started. Yes, no, maybe so. All right, cool. All right. I see if I see silence in the chat, that means I'm just gonna keep going. And just to give you guys a heads up, I don't mind answering questions, as you can already tell. I don't mind answering questions throughout the presentation. So once in a while, I will pause and check the chat if you guys have any questions, and then go from there. And when you're using the chat, make sure you guys use the meeting group chat. Meaning, like, if you ask a question and you want me to see it, definitely make sure that you put it in the meeting group chat, like you see here. So that way you're not just sending me a private message, because I won't be able to check the private messages while I'm on the call. All right, fantastic, great question, Pamela. This will be the only class that's free. If you want to see the other trainings that I do, Pamela, if you're in my Facebook group, then you can see my live trainings every single Monday. So in the Facebook group, I host live trainings every single week. So, so you can get get some more resources and trainings there. But as pertaining to the masterclass, this will be my only free version of it. So you guys are in for a treat. You guys are lucky. All right. Awesome. So I'm gonna go over the agenda real quick. What are the responsibilities of a software engineer and software developer? We'll go over that first, and then we'll talk about how does coding lead to careers and cybersecurity, AI, DevOps, cloud computing. Listen, guys, I cannot believe how many beginners and a lot of folks, they have this big misconception that you can just join, or you could just get an entry-level role as cloud computing, DevOps, AI. And I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's always better to have some type of foundation before you pivot into some of these more technical fields, because this is very technical. Without the foundational experience, you won't be as successful in these roles. So that's why I love talking about, like, when you learn software development, this could really open doors for you in these other areas that you may be interested in. I forgot to put on this list, project manager. Maybe you want to be a project manager over an IT project. And maybe you don't want to code forever. I know that's not me. I don't want to code forever. All right. I'll probably do it for a few years and do something else. But I just want to show with you guys how learning how to code can really lead you to other opportunities. All right. And we're also going to go over software architecture, different types of software development, learning roadmap. So I will share with you guys like a brief roadmap, because there's so many different types of development roles out there. It will literally take me almost a whole course to break down. All right, this is what you need to learn for this role. This is what you need to learn for this role. Like, there's different development roles out there. So I will cover like the first 4 major ones, the more popular ones you guys have seen, are the most common ones you'll see in the job marketplace. And the rest, you're gonna have to do your own research, or you can reach out to me and ask me. what's the best learning roadmap for that particular development role. All right. All right. And the last thing we'll go over in the agenda is how to become a recession proof. This is key, y'all. This is key by learning how to leverage coding to increase your cash flow. Now, a lot of people don't cover this. I don't know, do y'all follow all these tech influencers on TikTok, whatever, YouTube? I think one of the biggest gaps in college and boot camp and all these different learning mediums is that they don't teach you on what to do with the skill sets. Besides getting a 9-to-5 job, right? Like once you learn how to code, okay, get a 9-to-5 job. Okay, cool. But what if you can't get a job right away? The job market is trash right now. What can you do? So I will share with you guys some of the ways that I had to get creative on how I can get experience while I was waiting for my 9-to-5 and still get paid very well for what I did on those different types of experiences. And the cool part is even to this day, I kind of double dip in both areas. So I have my 9-to-5 as a software engineer, and I still do stuff on the side. And I will share more with you guys about that later on in the class. Other than that, does anybody have any questions about the agenda and what we're about to go over? Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself or ask your question in the chat. Any questions or anything before we get started?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah, sure. What's your name?
My name is Daniel.
Daniel, nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. Well, I just hop in late. I'm here in Texas. So
Nice.
I was kind of going through what you highlighted, what are the responsibility of a software engineer and also a software developer, right? So my question is, like you cited, in the job markets, there's a whole lot of like, okay, yes, I'm a developer, I'm a back-end person and all that. So what do you think? What domain? Like for me, I want to go into American airline. So my question is, as a back-end or as a front-end software developer, what do you think is the domain I can like buy into that can really me stand out in the job market?
Which domain, which area of development?
Yes, ma'am. Exactly, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. The best way to answer that question is that, depending on your location, every job
Mhm.
market is different.
Right.
Every job market. So what they may need in Texas in the job
Mhm.
market is going to be different than what they're expecting in New York. So let's say
Okay.
you work for American Airlines. Let's say American Airlines, they posted, hey, we just need full stack developers, for
Mhm.
example. So you're going to know front end, back end, and database side.
Right.
But it just really depends on the job market. Like I can't sit there and tell you, oh yeah, this is the biggest get into back end domain. This is the
Mhm.
biggest need right now. Every
Mhm.
aspect of development is needed, so to speak. It's it's where it's depends on your local job market and what they're looking for specifically. So I think that's the best way to answer that question for
Right,
you.
you've really answered it. So if I'm gonna like make my resume, like okay, what is gonna be my job title, my job description, so that I don't want to keep anybody like because I know people want to like get to learn from questions, right? So I'm kind of curious, right? So I'm like, okay, so for me to put my feet on the door, or as a mid front end engineer, software developer, what is going to be like my job title and my job description so that I can build my resume to align with the job like you cited in American Airlines.
America. Oh wow, these are really specific questions. Okay. This is a really specific question. All right. So for your resume, and this may be helpful for everybody.
Right.
Anytime you're trying to get into a new field, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to know your specialty right away. You're just
Exactly.
not. You're just not. But what you can do is, let's say you've been practicing a specific tech stack. Let's say you've been using a lot of front end technologies like the Angulars, the Vue, for example, with JavaScript, etc.
Yeah, yes,
So
I'm
you
using
could
React now.
right. So you could just put that on your resume, like, hey, I'm a front end engineer, and
Mm-hmm.
then this is the tech stack that I am proficient in, and you have
Mm-hmm.
proof. The
Mm-hmm.
portfolio, you have proof that you can build these projects using that
Mm-hmm.
tech stack. So just highlight that in your resume,
Okay.
honestly. So And this goes for this goes for everybody too. If you're in college or you're self-taught or boot camp, if there's a specific tech stack that you're comfortable coding in,
Mhm.
make that your specialty on your resume. So if you
Okay,
work with a
okay.
lot of Java, just say, hey, I'm a backend engineer that specializes in Java technologies.
Mhm.
That's totally acceptable. At least it gives the recruiters like a real like headlight
Le-
into your skill set, and they can tell the employer, all right, cool, this person they're good with Java, you can go talk to them, for example. um
Okay.
yeah, great
Sounds
question.
good. Sounds
Yeah,
really
great.
good.
Yeah, great question. Hopefully that was helpful for everybody else as well. Really great question. All right. So I'm gonna keep the presentation going along. This is really great questions. All right. I did talk about my transition story earlier, so I'm gonna skim through this a little bit. For those who just joined the call or a little bit late, um, just a little bit late. I am prior military. I was in the Army for a few years. And then I became a software engineer. Unemployed for 8 months, worked in retail and single mom and all that. So I'll give you guys a copy of this slide, but this is just a brief bio of my transition story a little bit and what I do today. All right. Yes, I do own my own software company. I build software products for business owners. Some the money I make on the side is between 10K to 20K per month. Building these software applications on the side. So yes, you can make a lot of money through coding, especially on the side. I also work as a software engineer for Independence Blue Cross Blue Shield. That's my expertise. I've been a part of that company for 4 years. Then I worked for another company for USLI. That's another insurance company, 3 years prior. So I have total 7 years of experience. And I also run a coaching program as well. And that's what the Facebook group is essentially. So for those who are like, hey, I want to work with you 101 or I need specialized help, I do coaching on the side as well. So that's pretty much my expertise. I will just want to skim through that as well. Awesome. All right, cool. So I'm gonna get into what are the responsibilities as a software engineer and a software developer. All right, I think that's the number one question that you guys need to consider. It's not just about coding. Let me say that again. Software development is not just about coding. So, I'm sure you guys have seen all the frenzies like, oh, AI taking over, AI Devin, AI this. There's so much human elements to the job as a software engineer that AI just can't simply replicate. So I'm gonna go over some of these responsibilities, and then you'll see why AI can't just simply just come in and just take over software development jobs. It's pretty comical, but they just simply can't. All right. So every single software development product or app that's being built, video game. I'm a gamer. I don't know if you guys are into gaming, games and mobile apps. Every single piece of software that exists in our world today, it has gone through some type of software development lifecycle. And there's 5 stages to it. All right. Now, every company, every development team, they may have it in a different order or call it something different, but every single development project go through this stage. All right. We have the planning, the analysis, design, implementation, testing, maintenance, all that stuff. So, as a developer, your responsibility is to see through all these different steps whenever you're trying to build a new applications or you're trying to enhance a current application. So, so that goes with that saying. Perfect. So, with the software development, you are responsible for every single stage of the software development lifecycle. All right, software development lifecycle. On average, if you were to build a brand new application at the enterprise level, sometimes it will take them a year or two, a whole year or 2 years to build an application. And of course, that will be worth millions of dollars. But as a developer, your responsibility is take the software project, take the requirements from the stakeholders, and take it through each stage of development. Now, obviously, are you doing this by yourself? No. in the corporate America, you work with the large development teams. And of course, there's going to be multiple different departments that'll be helping you as well. But your job as a software engineer is to get it through all these different stages. All right. Your first responsibility is the requirement, right? So your manager or a stakeholder, they may come to your team and be like, hey, we want to build this app. We want to enhance the customer service experience on our mobile app. And we're looking to add these functionalities. Here is the technical requirements that we want to include into our app. So we call this session requirement gathering, requirement engineering, where we all just sit together in a conference room. We got this whole 20-page, 30-page documentation from the stakeholders on what they want us, what's their expectations of what they want and what they want to be developed or build on their app. And the requirements gathering sessions and the engineering, that could take between 3 to 4 months, almost a whole quarter of the year. And obviously the reason why it takes that long because millions of dollars are being spent to build these apps. So we got to make sure that what they're asking for is exactly what they're looking for, and it's actually documented. Because once it's documented, we can't really change it too much once we're deep into the project. Like we're 6 months into development. At this point, we can't have someone come in and say, "Oh, I changed my mind. I want something different for the app." Boo. We've been developing for 6 months. You got to put a request in or wait till we're done with the development, then we can add it as an enhancement. All right. So your first responsibility as a developer is having the ability to take a requirement or take a problem, being able to break it down into technical steps and plan on how you're going to build out this app. And you're going to do this with your team. And of course, we follow the agile methodology to kind of do the planning, build out the features, the schedule, and etc. So very critical part is the planning. All right, that's number one. Number two, your biggest responsibility, obviously, I'm sure you guys seen it online, is the development, right? So with development, we're talking about coding. We're talking about writing SQL scripts. If you're a full stack developer, writing SQL scripts, making sure your IDE is set up, making sure the server environment is set up, making sure what you're developing aligns with what they're looking for in the requirements. Development also means you are testing your code, unit testing your codes. Every time you make a code change, you got to unit test it. That's how you make sure that the functionality works as it should. All right. So number two, your responsibility is development. Number three, the reason why I put this as number three, because depending on the company or depending on if you're doing this project by yourself or you're building an application with the development team, some companies, they do have a UI and UX team. And basically what they do is that they actually design the mock-up and the wireframe on how the app is going to look. So let's say you want to become a front-end engineer. Technically, it's not your responsibility to come up with the design. There's a whole UI UX team that does that. And some companies do have that department. So once the UI UX mock-up design is made, they'll give that to you as the front-end engineer or maybe your full stack. As a developer, you're supposed to write in the code for that design. So that's how the design works. Now, if you're freelancing or you're building a project on your own, then obviously you have to come up with the design. All right. So any questions on the first three responsibilities as a software engineer / developer? Any questions on the first three? Okay, cool. If I hear silence, see nothing in the chat, I'm Gucci. That means I'm a good teacher. All right.
No, the thing is you're flowing, you're answering the questions to some extent as a result of passing the message across. So I'm kind of note taking. So
Oh, good.
don't be offended if I can like stop you in the middle of the class, like want to get more clarification on that.
Oh no, you're fine. Oh no, you're fine. And thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the feedback. At least I know I'm on the road. Cool.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
sounds good. All right, I'm gonna go over 4 through 6. So analysis of business requirements, that's also another responsibility of yours. So let's say, for example, it's not a new development. Let's say it's like, hey, we want to add an enhancement to our current app. We just need you to do this, or we just need you to do that. So having the ability to analyze the business requirements, or let's say an issue comes up and you need to go and fix it. You gotta have that critical thinking and problem solving skills. So it's one of your responsibilities. Number 5, maintenance. I'm gonna tell you guys from the beginning. I remember my first junior role, my first ever software development role. I spent 80% of the time maintaining the application. I wasn't writing new lines of code or building new applications from scratch in the beginning of my career. A lot of it was maintenance. And a lot of you guys will share similar experiences. And there's always gonna be maintenance with the app. Anytime there's user involved and technical debt and bugs, something will bound to go wrong. It's technology. Something always goes wrong. So maintenance is just a part of your responsibility. All right. DevOps. DevOps, basically what that means is that it's just development operations. That's what DevOps mean, development operations. Basically what that means is that you manage the responsibility of being able to deploy your code to the server, and you also have the responsibility as well as making sure the deployment goes smoothly and you're able to manage your the code base. So we store all of our code base on the server, and we organize our code through folders and stuff like that. So that's all under DevOps type of responsibility. Now, DevOps is its own separate career. It's its own separate career field, but as a developer, we are kind of expected to know some things about DevOps. Just to give you a heads up. Number 7, 8, and 9. This 7 is data management. So if you are a full stack developer or you plan on being one, data management is critical. So learning how to use SQL, write SQL scripts, write store procedures, learning how to read through the tables and data modeling if it's required of you to add new columns to a table. So data management is critical, and understanding where the data is coming from and the processes behind it. So that's number 7. Um, Number 8 is test driven development. All right. So this is also one of your responsibilities as well. So every time you write code, it could be a block of code. It could just be a function, a block of code or a function. You have to test it. Unit testing prevents technical debt and technical errors. So if you do your testing right, there'll be less mistakes on the server. And nothing is absolutely worse for a developer is when you deploy some code to the server and users are complaining to you that, oh, this is not working, this is not working, this is not right. And you're thinking like, dang, if I would have just unit test this scenario, all this could have been avoided. So that's what test-driven development is. It's a very important core software development principle. All right. CI pipeline deployment, that's all under DevOps. Security, so learning how to secure your application, performance testing, and then maintenance of servers. So depending on the company you work for, they may have their own team that manages the servers, or you have to manage it on your own. But that's really, company dependent on. All right. So any questions on the software development lifecycle and your responsibility within the software development lifecycle? Because it's essentially your job. Now,
Yes, question.
yeah, sure.
I have a question on number 10. Oh no, let me say 7 and 10. So basically on that number 10, we talk about security. Are you talking like probably like your antivirus, like to buy antivirus to protect the attacks from malware or something? Is that what you're saying? Like I'm understanding that security part?
Oh, okay. I see what you're asking. Good question. So when we're talking about security, we're talking about security at the application level. So not at the network
Mhm.
level, because networking is a whole different career field. There's network engineers and stuff that manage
Right.
that's different. So we talk about security, we talk about security at the application level. So
Okay.
authentication, authorization, who's authorized to
Mm-hmm.
use your application,
Mm-hmm.
what is the authentication process.
Mm-hmm.
There's different ways you can implement security to make sure that not just any old user get access to your app. Maybe you'll
Mm-hmm.
use like I don't know, like a social what's it called, social sign-in authorization, for
Mm-hmm.
example, or Windows
Okay.
access. So that's what I mean by security at the application level.
Oh, okay. That sounds great.
Awesome. Cool. Great question. Awesome. All right, cool. Any other questions, you guys? All right. Silence means you guys are taking in the notes, right? Fantastic. Awesome. Cool. All right. Oh, I almost got ahead of myself. All right, cool. Let's
So
get in.
okay,
Oh,
before you move, can we have like an example of, like you said, managing the application itself? Because you made mention of authentication, like let me say for instance, like Monday.com. If you need to sign into like Monday.com, there is a security code that the admin will send to you to enable you use the Monday.com. So can we kind of like, let me
uh,
say, point you to that direction, like that, the same thing, like that authentication? Can we say that is part of security, ma'am?
yeah. So, all right. Yeah. Let me give you an example. So let's say I'm using the example for work from my job, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
actually have an application. I manage an application where a specific users, which is the auditors, so only a select group of users has access
Mm-hmm.
to my app that
Okay.
audits claims. That's just one of my
Mm-hmm.
applications that I'm responsible for. So in my code, I actually have a ADFS certificate in there, and I also
Mm-hmm.
have some other authentication and they use within Windows. So I use a what's it called, like a Windows group.
Okay.
I create like a Windows group that has the specific users in there. And
Mm-hmm.
if those specific users, if they're not listed on there, they don't get access to the app. So that's an example where I use like Windows authentications and access. And
Well
that's
said. Yeah, well said. Because like I said, I'm kind of curious, so forgive me for asking too many questions.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Because like I said, I'm a back end software developer full stack. So I want to know, honestly, an in-depth knowledge on how to use these tools, especially trying to familiarize yourself with these new environments, these tools like the Jenkins, the Azure,
Oh yeah, there's
um,
so many. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot.
The Jira, they will not say the Agile. So I'm like, how do you use all these tools? Like, especially getting to the IT field, man, they can like throw you off balance because the job market is really, really like, it's not funny, honestly.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, but all those different tools, they all serve a purpose into the development, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like for example, let's go into the implementation stage. So all the
Okay.
programming languages that you need to learn and the frameworks that will be applied under implementation stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's talk about the pipeline, let's talk about the DevOps side, right? The deployment, that's another stage, testing and integration. So you have to learn
Mm-hmm.
all the tools to know how to send your code to the server and have them run in the pipeline and deploy them. So that'll be
Mm-hmm.
under integration. So all these different tools we have to learn and keep track of. It's intentional because you need it for each stage of the software development.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so this is the question you're asking is a really great question, but that could be a whole nother lesson in itself.
Yeah, I'm sorry, like I said, because
Oh no, you're
sometimes
fine. Oh
because
no, you're fine.
the recruiter, so I'm like, okay, I'm used to Postman, I'm used to Code Signal, I'm used to Soundboss, I'm used to uh React. So like, okay, tell me more. I'm like, okay, but these are the tools I'm kind of use. So like I said, I'm this kind of I have this curiosity to like, I'm not tired of learning when it comes to the application itself. When it comes to ACS, I want to learn everything that has to do with coding in general to enable me stand out in the job market. But like I said, we have tons of software developers out there, but your ability to like know exactly what you're doing. So with this masterclass, honestly, you're really doing a lot of justice to what have been keeping me in my shackles of like oh, I don't know this thing. I don't know. At least, what's that? I want to say thank you, Mary. Yes, thank you.
Hmm. No problem. No problem. And then and when you're talking to a recruiter and they're going through the requirements, just
Hmm.
remember that it's a wish list.
Right?
Job posting descriptions are just a wish list, right? So maybe you
Hmm.
know 70% of the tools that they're using, but the other
Hmm.
30%, they could teach you on the job. You don't have to
Oh,
know
okay.
everything. You don't have to know
Right.
everything. At least you get 70. If you can get the majority of the requirements of what they're looking for, I'm sure they'll
Hmm.
still, look at you, so to speak. Um, yeah, so
Certainly.
don't feel bad. You don't know
No,
every single tool that they're
no, not,
listing
not,
out
not
there.
at all. Not at all. I'm a constant learner, so I want to be familiar myself with this environment. That's me.
Yeah.
I'm a constant learner. I like learning new tools.
Okay. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, I'm the same way, especially in the beginning and just learning how to settle with a tech stack that that really
Yeah.
fits in what you're interested in. All right. So let me move on to the software development. So how does software development lead to other technical fields? All right. I'm gonna show this diagram real quick because a lot of beginners and transitioning folks, it's so tempting because we see a lot of hype about it on social media, news, and etc. about cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing. These are really, really cool areas to get into. All right. Now, where does all this stem from? Why do we have cybersecurity in the first place? Why do we have artificial intelligence? Right? Like, why is that even relevant, so to speak? Because by itself, AI by itself, it's not relevant. But the reason why AI is relevant is because of software. It's an enhancement. Big data. We have data now. So now there's a lot more data management and different tools you can use. So there's a lot of data that needs to be managed and cloud computing. Now, the common denominator for all these different roles is the software itself. These all stem from the software and applications. So why do we have cybersecurity, for example? We're securing what? The network and the application themselves, right? The web applications, the desktop apps, mobile apps, and etc. So cybersecurity, if you want to get into cybersecurity, it's always good to know how to code and understand the foundation on how the application works, because this will actually prepare you for the job in cybersecurity. For example, software development and coding, it can also prepare you for artificial intelligence. Do you guys know what artificial intelligence is? Like, how is that built? Does anybody know? You want to take a wild guess in the chat, or you guys will say out loud? How is artificial
But
develop? Go
could
ahead.
I say that's the AI, the chat GPT or something? Is it the chat GPT
Yes,
name?
yes. So you guys probably have seen it, the chat GPTs, the Geminis, the what's some other AI tools? There's thousands of AI tools out there. But
Yeah,
chat
yes,
GPT is like
yes,
the
yes.
good
I know.
example. How
Mhm.
is that
I know.
built?
I think I also know about the Gemini because sometimes I kind of ask both of them questions
Yeah.
to like compare both questions. So both of them give me like a similar question. I'm like, oh, okay. So which means they are pointing towards the same direction in a different form.
Yes. Yes. So because every artificial intelligence concept or structure, they use natural language models.
Okay.
So there's a lot of data models and language processing models behind them. And each time that you write your prompt, you know how you go on ChatGPT, you write your question on the prompt. Each word is a token, and they take that token and then they compare it against the data mapping and being able to piece together the answers based on the knowledge base that it has in the data
Right.
model. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's pretty cool. But with artificial intelligence, the only way those tools get created is by a developer. Somebody has to code that. Somebody has to
Mhm.
program the actual data models to do what it does, be able to receive the tokens, which is the prompts. You guys type in your question, those tokens, and being able to extract the tokens and actually provide an answer based on the language processing and the data model that's available. So if you want to get into artificial intelligence, it's good for you to know how to code because everything behind it is data and coding. Big data. Now, with big data management and like dealing with data, a lot of it is more about SQL. So you learn about SQL, Gyro, these different data management tools. So it's good for you to learn software development as well, because when you get into the database side of development, this could really help you in the big data space for those who are interested in the big data space. Cloud computing. This is another big uh career that folks are getting into now. So AWS, Google Cloud Platform. It's more cloud computing is more about server management, managing certs and managing application access on the servers and stuff like that. So what's cool about cloud computing is that if you understand application development at the software development level, then when you get to the server level, you're actually managing the servers, meaning that when the application is communicating to the server, you actually handle the configurations, adding the endpoints, and making sure the authorization and the authentication is correct and set up correctly on the server side. That way, the application, which is the software, can actually send an HTTP request and bring it back down as a response. So that's what cloud computing is. It's very cool. But as you guys can see, this is more like mid-tier level career moves. Like, I wouldn't move into these fields unless you have some type of technical knowledge or foundation before you get into these. But at least you have an idea what, if you start out with software development first, this could really help you land these other or explore into these other facets later on in your career. Any questions about this section on how software development leads you to other technical fields? It's very cool. The only thing I didn't add to this list is IT project management. That's something that I'm getting into right now personally. Actually, I just applied for a role to be an IT manager not too long ago. But IT management is another big part that you can get into. So if you like managing projects, managing software applications, you can't really apply to IT management until you've gotten some few years of development under your belt. So that's what I did. That's what that is. I just forgot to include it in the roadmap. Awesome. Any questions about this section here? Questions, thoughts, or anything? All right. All right. No? Okay. We'll keep it moving. Is this helpful? Is this helpful to you guys? Is this helpful information? Let me know in the comment section if this is helpful for you. All right.
You
Let's
can
get
you can drop it on the chat. Yes, and drop it on the chat where we can like do like a survey thing, like okay, it was helpful. You have to like drop it on the chat.
Yep, that's
So we
fine. Yep. You can point in the chat or say that loud. That's cool. Very helpful. All right, fantastic. At least I know I'm in the right direction of what I'm covering in this presentation. Because software development is such a huge topic, and it's very easy to get lost in the weed of it. So I'm trying to introduce very beginner friendly concepts that is relatable to you guys and just makes sense. Just help you guys make a decision. Is this something you really want to do or nah? But I'm giving you guys an insight into the development space world. All right, let's get into the software architecture and software development roles. All right, so I mentioned this before. There's different types of software development roles, and there's tons of them out. There's different types out there. This is not the only ones. This is like the big three. And the reason why I call this the big three, because every single application has these layers. Every application has a user interface. Every application has the logical rules and data. And of course, the last stage is the data, which is the database that stores the information. Now, I broke it down into these three boxes because this is also the architecture, because every application, every web app has these three layers. All right. Now, the user interface, that's the person that writes the code that designs the looks and feels and writes it out on the actual code. So front-end developers do that. Backend developers, think of the languages C#, C++, Python, those backend languages. They handle more of the logical rules, the business rules, behind the application and making sure that the data it's being the HTTP requests, sending requests to the servers and back, make sure you're getting the data, getting those pipelines and the middleware set up. So that's backend developer, that's their responsibility. And then we have the data side. Now on the data side, data is more like SQL, MySQL, but the whole point of data is that you learn how to use relational databases, tables, database management, how to write store procedures, scripts, etc. All right. And when you put all of these three layers together, that's how you create an application. There's user interface, the backend part, and then data. Every application has these three layers. Now, if you're like a superstar and you learn all three, you're basically a full stack developer. Like I am. I'm a full stack developer. I've been a full stack developer for the past few years. So if you know all three layers, you're a superstar, you're rock, and you probably make the big bucks when, when you're a full stack developer. Now, I'm not saying that you can't make the big bucks by not learning all three. You could totally make a lot of money making front end and back end and database by themselves. But I'm just saying the more skills the more you know the full complete development end to end, you're more lucrative, you're more desirable in the job marketplace. But I always recommend it to the beginners. If, I don't know if you guys, I'm not sure everybody is a beginner or maybe you've been a developer. I'm not sure of the audience here. But if you guys are all beginners, I highly recommend you guys start out with one layer at a time. Learn one layer at a time. All right. Like I know from my experience, I didn't start out as a full stack developer. I started out on the database side. And then I started from the database side, writing scripts to get into front end. Then I got the front end, got good at that, and then I got into back end. And then I started to combine all three. And that took time for me. That took time. So I'm sure it will take time for you guys. But my biggest advice when it comes to learning development is focusing on one layer at a time. So if you're someone who's like, "Ooh, I'm learning SQL and JavaScript and C# all at the same time," you're doing stuff with the service. Learn one thing at a time, get good at it, and be proficient, and you'll move a lot faster in your learning journey. All right. Casey. Ooh, she has a good. You're asking some good question. How do we know we'll be enough to be job ready? If you can build oh, I'm sorry, Casey, you trying to be a full stack developer? What type of developer you're trying to be? Um, Depending on the type of developer you want to be, you should be able to build the application and apply the tech stack that you know and be able to build it out without the tutorials. Without the tutorials, without the hand holding, you should be able, if you're able to build an application without too much hand holding, you're pretty much good to go. And you also must, you must have the ability to articulate what you develop. Super important because during the interview, you know, they may not always ask you to, oh, whip out your laptop and show me what you did, and you're gonna read the code on your screen. No, the interview is all about how well can you articulate these technical concepts because they want to see how well you understand, what you're doing. So yes, it's also good to show that, yes, it's good to know that you can do the work, but you gotta be able to articulate what you did as well, because you are dealing with business folks at the end of the day. I recently received a master's degree in software development, but I feel like I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I know. Okay, you have a master's. Wow. So did you get a bachelor's in computer science and you just went for your master's? Did you build projects, Casey? Can you provide me a little more context? Like, have you like not built anything at all? Oh, okay. So bachelor's. Oh, okay. In biology. Okay. Now, while you were getting your master's, were you building projects? Did you feel comfortable developing I'm sure you had some projects assignments while you were. I built a lot to my degree. Okay. All right. So as long as you feel now, do you feel comfortable enough? So here's a great test, Casey. If somebody was to give you a requirement, go ahead and build me an app that calculates that calculates my taxes based on the states. Would you go ahead? Will you be able to build that application? Um, and going through those steps. Because you said you built a lot. Yeah, you went to a master's degree program, so I'm sure they covered a lot. With Google, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Now, yeah, so if you're using resources like Google and stuff, that's fine. But if you have to, oh, I gotta watch a tutorial video to learn, I have to I gotta watch a whole bunch of tutorial videos and stuff like that to build a project, you're probably not ready yet. If you're not able to implement OOP, object-oriented programming, right? If you're not comfortable with that concept and you're not able to implement that in your code, that's another shaky developer, right? Um, and as you get the job, you'll learn more, but the employers, they just want to see, do you understand building an application end to end? Are you able to display the data on the screen? Do you understand how the data is being run, able to build the application middleware, how the data is being handled? So those are some of the things that employers are looking for. Just that basic understanding of end-to-end development. So awesome. So if you build a lot of projects with your master's degree and you feel like you're still not comfortable yet, well, I recommend that you do like a hackathon. Great way to test yourself, Casey, to go to a hackathon event and see how much you do. Okay. Tutorials were help. Okay, tutorials definitely helped me with my final capstone project, but I knew which resources to use in order to build it, which is awesome. That's a good skill to have. Being a software engineer means being resourceful, so knowing where to go to get the information and etc. No, I have nothing against using resources. Work smarter, not harder. Um, so that's awesome. But your biggest proof when you go through the interview is just employers just want to see if you have built a full-fledged application end to end and it solves a problem and you have the ability to articulate. All right. And if you feel like you've done those things, go ahead and start applying for the job. Start applying. You never know. Because you don't know if you're ready for the job until you get to the interview and they start asking you questions and you're like, oh shoot, I don't know how to answer that question. Oh shoot. You know? I remember my first few interviews, I was like, oh, I thought I knew what I was talking about, but I have a lot of learning to do. So Casey, if you're not sure you're ready, I go ahead and start applying for some roles to get some interviews. Now I think my resume is bad because I haven't gotten any interviews. Wait, Casey, so you're in school, right? So have you utilized the career centers? I thought it was experience. I think my resume is bad because I haven't gotten any interviews. I thought it was experience. Yes, experience. I'm done with school. Oh, okay. Uh, did you utilize any internships and stuff like that? I don't know if you've utilized internships or any opportunities within your degree program. Leverage school for that. I think my resume is bad 'cause I haven't um, you know what, Casey? If you want to, shoot me an email of your resume and I'll take a look at it. And in your GitHub too, you have any projects? Okay. All right, you're done with school. Okay. Yeah, this seems more like a one-on-one discussion on Casey. If you're not getting any interviews, there's something going on with your resume for sure. All right. Moving on to the next topic. Thank you so much, Casey, for your questions. If you want me to take a look at your resume, feel free to email me. I have my email at the end of the slides here. All right. Another part of software development is being able to understand how to use different architectures. All right. Learning how to use different architectures. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take a pause. Lee just asked, internships of building projects have been helping me. I don't feel job ready though. Okay. You built projects, you have experience. Have you gone through an interview yet, Lee? How do you know you're not ready? Have you gone through an interview and somebody told you, no, you're not ready? Like, how do you know you're not ready? If you already got an internship under your belt, you built some projects, you got some hands-on experience. Like you won't know till you're ready till you get to the interview, and they'll tell you. They'll tell you straight up. Probably imposter syndrome. Yeah, I figured. I figured. All right, Lee. Since you already have some experience already, and since you already have some projects, go ahead and apply. Go ahead and try and get into an interview. See how well you do in an interview before you discount yourself. Because guess what? You're never ever going to feel ready. I think nobody is, regardless of any career path. Like, if I was to become a doctor today, I probably would never ever feel comfortable cutting into a human body, no matter how much I read it in the books. I think that applies to any career change, is that imposter syndrome. So you won't know till you won't know, right? Get into the interview, see how well you perform, and they'll let you know. The employers will let you know real fast. Oh no, you need more practice. Yeah. Um, so 1 second. And Casey mentioned, I feel ready to transition. I know I learned quick on the job. I just need an opportunity. Okay, something's going on with your resume, Casey. Okay. Um, and use your school board too. I'm sure your school has the job board and stuff like that. So for you guys who are in college, I feel like a lot of folks underutilize the resources at the school, because the school, a lot of them have company partnerships and stuff like that. So you're paying all that money for school. Make sure you leverage a lot of the resources, like become besties with the career counselors or your advisors and etc. Because I'm sure they have, yeah, like what's the point? Um, I hate saying this, but it's kind of true. Oh, okay. It's an online school. Okay, got you. But but they still have resources though, Casey. I'm not sure how much you spent on your degree. I don't know if you went to WGU. I don't know how much y'all spent on that degree, regardless if it's online or in person. But email an advisor, get in contact, and like utilize the network, because the thing about college, right? Do I recommend folks going to college to learn software development? The answer is no, because I feel like a lot of the stuff that they teach in college is a little obsolete, just a little bit. And number two, a lot of the information that you're learning in college, you can learn a lot cheaper somewhere else. Like the information is out there. Information is out there. So I don't see like college giving the most premium information. But the good thing about college is that they have networks, they have chapters, they have IT, they have all these different networking opportunities and job fairs. Like so people leverage college for the networking aspect, especially if you go to a big brand school or something like that. So I will leverage school for that. So you pay all that money for student loans, you better utilize them resources, regardless if it's online or in person. Send an email to your advisor and make them work for you. Hey, send me emails of some job opportunities that comes your way, you know? All right. Um, don't let your student loan money go to waste. Casey Williams, it was hard when working a full time. It was an online program to feel connected to your school. Yeah. I went to an online program too. Well, I did partial in person and partial online. No loans paid out of pocket. Oh, good for you, Casey. Okay. Okay, girl. I see you. Congratulations. All right, no loans paid up. Great job. Great job. But still, utilize the resources at the school. Every school has a career center. Every school has like a connect to a company or something, that's sponsoring that school. Utilize their resources. Rikuya, Rikuya asked the question. What's your opinion on boot camps? Woo! Y'all might have me ranting today. Okay, let's talk about boot camps. I'm kidding. I'm messing with y'all. Boot camps. All right. Here's my opinion on boot camps. Boot camps, I think boot camps are better than college because of the cost. Not boot camps, they're better because of the cost, and it takes less time to complete their program. I think that's the only pro when it comes to boot camps. It's a little bit cheaper than college, and you can get it done in a matter of weeks. Now, do I agree? Like a lot of these boot camps, they are outrageously expensive. I've seen some for 30,000, 20,000. Some of them are like costing as much as a down payment on a home. And the information that like the information, like the curriculum, it's the information. You can find that information online. What you're really paying for with the boot camp is the support and having a instructor. And the thing about boot camps, that those programs, they are super accelerated. Super accelerated. So if you're not like a fast let me not say that because I no, let me not say that because I'm sure there's some quick learners here, but if you're learning something brand new for the first time, that's not something to rush through. That's not something to rush through. That's like, hey, let's come out with a boot camp for doctors. Like, do you want to learn how to operate on somebody's heart in less than 16 weeks? Like, would you still be ready to do open heart surgery if there was a boot camp on how to do open heart surgery? Like, um, so I think that's the downside with boot camps. Like, yes, it's cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper than college. It may take less time to complete the program, but the information that they're teaching, you can find it online for free. So what you're only paying for is the support and the instructors. And with employers, um, listen, employers, yes, they recognize degrees. Yes, boot camps, like degrees are up here. Boot camps are kind of like somewhere below the degree side. Now, can you still get a job with just a degree alone? No, because millions of folks got degrees nowadays, so it's not that distinguishable or special anymore. So the biggest way to stand out is to your development and your projects. So with boot camps, like I'm not a big advocate of boot camps 'cause I just know that I just I've seen so many predatorial boot camps, but who are like, ooh, we'll teach you how to code and guarantee you a job in less than 18 weeks. Like I've seen those ads. I've seen the I've seen all types of marketing for boot camps, and some of them are very predatorial. Just be careful. If you're gonna go do a boot camp, spend less than $10,000. Let me say that again. If you're gonna go through a boot camp, make sure it costs less than $10,000. That's a steal. And if the boot camp offers long-term support, so after you learn how to code, and you need like job support, resume, and stuff like that, that's good. That's a good program too. But if you're gonna do a boot camp, make sure it costs under 10K. I will not spend anything more than 10K. If that was me, like if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't spend anything more than 10K because I've seen the curriculums. Tomorrow I'm about to teach at a boot camp tomorrow morning as a volunteer instructor, and I've seen the curriculum. It's like stuff you can find online. And sometimes they use some of the same resources that they use online. So just to give you the heads up, Rukia. All right, cool. Casey asked, that's why I got a master's degree instead because the boot camps I came across were more expensive. They were more expensive than the master's degree? Oh, you must went to WGU, girl. Let me not say that. Because I heard WGU was cheap. Oh man, that's crazy. That the boot camp costs more than the masters. That's a twist. That's interesting. All right, Daniel asked one more question, and I gotta move on. These are really great questions. Daniel asks, what are your thoughts and concerning regarding JavaScript, HTML, CSS language? Concerning when like one of my thoughts and concerns, like the JavaScript, HTML, CSS, those are the foundational languages to build the front end part of the application. So think of HTML kind of like the framework of your house, like the skeleton of the house. Think of CSS like the design, the look and feel of the house, and then JavaScript focus on the functional, like the actual events, the functionality of the home. So JavaScript, HTML, CSS, those are foundational languages for front end development. That's my thoughts and concerns on that. Um, Casey asks, I'm sorry, Casey has a statement. Actually, it was a legit university, but it was the span of 2 years, not 20K for six. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. I got you, Casey. So yeah, see, those type of boot camps right there, 20K for 6 weeks, that makes no sense. So I can see why you did 20K over the span of 2 years. That's that was a smart move, Casey. Because like I said before, boot camps are great. They're boot camps are great, and there might be a shorter time to complete, but it's accelerated. And some folks, they have to quit their full-time job for them to participate in the boot camp. Like, and it's just a very accelerated learning experience. So I just don't recommend it if you're learning something completely new. Um, but if you're someone who's been dabbling and coding in a while, you do have some type of foundation in development, and you won't be as lost if you were to sign up for a boot camp. All right. Cool. All right, let's talk about the software architecture. These are really great questions, you guys. I appreciate the interaction. This is pretty cool. All right, so I'm gonna go over the software architecture real quick. These are some of the common architectures that I use on the job when I'm building an application. Every application has a view, controller, model. View is how the user interact with the view is what the folks can see, the user interface. Controller manages the request or the response process. So let's say somebody goes on Amazon.com and somebody says, hey, I want to add this red dress to my cart. All right, that data gets sent to the controller. The controller gets access to the data, gets information from the data, and then bring the data back up to the controller and then bring it back up to the view. So this is MVC. This is a type of architecture that developer use to build their application. I don't know if you guys ever dealt with this before. For those who have built projects before, have you ever built a project? Have you ever hey, I got this project idea, and you open up your IDE. For those who don't know what IDE stands for, IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Basically, it's a software that you use to write code. All right. So you open up your IDE and you're like, oh shoot, I don't know how to get started in this project. I don't know how to structure my project. Yeah, you're gonna. So that's why it's important to learn software architecture. So model view controller is one of my favorite ones to use when I'm developing. And then there's the layer architecture. This is pretty much top to bottom, user interface, business logic, data, and then of course, you need to use a third party APIs or anything like that to get data from and interact that way. So these are probably the most top two architectures that you could build applications in, depending on the use case. Depending on the use case. So as a developer, it is your responsibility to look at a requirement and be able to say, all right, based off the requirements, what would be the best architecture to use to build out this application? Depending how big or small this application is. Is this application a part of a larger system, right? Because sometimes you might be building an application that's going to fit into, it's going to be a part of a system that's already in place. So it just depends. All right. So that's software architecture. Kind of breeze through that. For those who went to school or anything like that, I'm sure you got exposure to it. If you're self-taught, definitely look up software architecture. All right. Important thing to learn. All right. Let's get to the fun parts. Learning roadmap for each software development roles. All right. Super critical here is I created this quick diagram because I wanted to break down for those who are brand new to software development, or you're like, hey, I kind of want to start learning, but I don't know where to start yet. I got you. So I'm gonna go over this roadmap real quick. Where is water? I could have sworn I had my water here. Yes, I did. Oh, can't forget my Stanley cup. All right, in 1 second. All right. Whew, I'm talking for an hour. All right. All right, so learning roadmap. So this is great. Maybe you're someone who already graduated, or maybe you're someone who's brand new. You're like, hey, I don't know where to start learning. Here's what I recommend. Before you learn how to code, because these YouTubers, the TikTokers, all these influencers, they won't tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you this because I'm cool and I know what it's like to be lost and not know what to do. All right, and be misled. I recommend when you're learning software development, you should not learn how to code first. And here's the reason why. Because if you don't have a solid foundation, behind the scene knowledge, because it's one thing to learn how to code, it's another thing to be able to understand what you're coding and why you're coding it this way. So if somebody was to ask you, hey, I see you coded it this way. Why did you go with this approach over this approach? Why did you do this, then this? You gotta be able to answer those questions. You gotta be able to articulate that if somebody was to ask you that, or another developer was to ask you, for example, if it's more of a technical person. All right. So introduction to computer science. All right. So we can go over the basics of go free to go over the basics of computer systems, system hardware, operating systems, Mac, Windows OS, Linux, basis of database systems, networking, data structures and algorithm. I don't know why I didn't include that here. Make sure you know the data structures and algorithms, super important. Understanding development. So have a good solid understanding of introduction to computer science topics. It's good to have. It's a good background knowledge to have. Um, there's this lecture on YouTube. It's the CS50. I'm sure you guys have heard of it on YouTube. So there's a CS50 lecture. You can probably Google this information for free, listen to it, learn the information. You're welcome. I just saved you 17K for that course. Um, introduction to programming. I feel like this is another very important class for you to listen to and learn. All right. You should know what object-oriented programming is. If you don't know what object-oriented programming is and being able to articulate that and apply it into your code, you might as well not walk into the interview. You might as well turn right back around. Make sure you learn object-oriented programming, not just the concept and the principles behind it, but being able to identify it in your code, having the ability to write it in your code, and etc. So that's super important. Introduction, data structures, be able to do debugging. There's a lot of folks. For some of you guys who don't know, I am a software engineering coach. I do tutoring, and I had tutored a lot of folks who has a whole degree and everything, and they don't know what debugging is. And I'm like, what are they teaching in these schools? But but there's a lot of things that boot camp and college don't cover, and I think one of the bigger things that college and boot camps kind of gloss over this topic a little bit, but it's actually really important for the job, is knowing how to debug to your code. That's probably one of the most important skills for you to know, because for some reason, I don't know why, boot camps and colleges, they don't go too in depth with the information, but it's one of the most important informations you need to know, because 80% of what you do is going to be debugging through code, figuring out why something is broken, and having the ability to do that. All right. Understand the basics of programming, right? You should know what a function is, a variable, arrays. You should know what the parameters are, arguments, like those basic programming concepts. Now, I'm sure you guys have heard this before, or maybe not. If you know one programming language, you pretty much know them all. Let me say that again. If you know one programming language, you basically know them all, because they're all the same. They all follow the same basic principles of programming, etc. As in, every programming languages has variables. Every programming languages use functions. Every programming languages uses arrays or some type of data structure. The only difference between all these different programming languages is that their syntax, like the key words that they use for you to implement these programming concepts. So that's why I tell folks all the time, including my clients that I worked with previously, is that if you don't master these two back end knowledge information, you're going to struggle with coding. You're going to struggle. Even if you manage to know how to code by following the tutorial, you're not going to be confident in what you're coding and the why behind what you're coding. Super important. And one of the biggest flex, in my opinion, is if you are so comfortable with programming concepts, is that you should be able to learn any programming languages. You don't have to watch the video. Just go through the documentation and learn a whole new programming language. Now that's a challenge. If you're able to learn a new programming language or framework, just based off of documentation and no videos, that's even more of a flex. Because on the job, you do not have 8 hours to go through a YouTube video how to use, I don't know, Tailwind. for example. You don't have that luxury. So having the ability to go through documentation and just read it, all right, I know the basics and apply it, it's actually a flex. That's pretty cool. Any questions on these first two topics right here? Any questions at all? I'm sure you guys are just taking it in. Okay. All right, cool. Silence and no comments. Okay, that means I'm doing well. Y'all just soaking it in. Fantastic. All right. Then we have the system analysis and design. All right. So it's not that they ask you questions around these things during the interview, but it's good for you to know. You should have a basic knowledge of it. Database modeling, user interfaces, system analysis and design, um, systems development methodologies. So what I mean by that is the 5 development life cycles, like I showed you on the first page. All right, requirements gathering, system design techniques, and etc. All right, so you have those foundations down. So once you have the foundation, now you can get into coding. Now we can get to the front part. Now we're like, all right, you got the foundation, it's built up. Okay, cool. Let's get into the actual coding part. If you want to be a front end developer, you can use of course, you got to get your foundation, the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, listen, you guys, please, 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 please do not get a job with just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Do not just go out and apply for a job for just for these 3. It's not enough in this market. It is not enough. They expect you to know some type of CSS frameworks. They expect you to know a couple web frameworks, you know what I'm saying? On top of these 3 foundational languages. This is foundational. Like shoot, like my son, he's 10 years old and he can program in HTML and CSS because they teach it in school nowadays for children. So as time goes on with technology, a lot of these programming languages are going to be foundational. It's going to be foundational. It's going to be expected of you to kind of know this from a foundational standpoint. Now, as you want to specialize, because I tell folks all the time, you gotta be a specialist over a generalist software engineer. You can specialize in different web frameworks and tools. Maybe you could just be a specialist in React or Angular or a combination of both. You could do that as well. Same thing applies with backend development. Now, backend development is a little bit different because if you're applying for a role as an application developer and back end, they kind of expect you to know front end too. That's just what it is. Like my title is application developer. Technically, I'm supposed to be more back end, but I bet the company for a few years now, and now they're kind of expect me to do both. That's just what it is. So, but going back to backend development is basically all the business rules and logic behind like the inner workings of the application, and also you're actually developing the middleware, the pipeline on how the data is being handled from the UI to the database, taking that request, send it over to the server, get the response back, and have the middleware pipeline handle how the data is being used and bring them to the front. All right. And of course, there's different types of tech stack. Like for example, I'm a .NET technologist. So I actually build Microsoft. I use Microsoft Technologies .NET to create web applications. So that's C Sharp, C Sharp, C++. I use Visual Studio a lot, for example, SQL Server for the database. I use Azure for my DevOps. So that's just my tech stack. Front end, I use Angular. Front end, I kind of switch between the two. However, I'm feeling or based on the requirements of the company. All right. You can do Python, Ruby on Rails. So there's tons of backend languages for you to learn. Know that JS is super important for packages and dependencies management for the project. So that's pretty cool. All right, and lastly, mobile application development. I'm not sure if anybody wants to be a mobile app developer, but it's basically the same thing as front end development. When you're a mobile app developer, you're doing all 3, or you can, depending on which team you're on. But there's Android side and iOS side, and of course, the Android side, I've seen a lot more job opportunities for the Android side more than iOS. I'm not saying that they're not out there, but it's a little more difficult to get into the iOS development space if you were if you want to become a mobile developer. And I think one of the biggest tools that's good for you to learn how to use for iOS, obviously, is Swift, Android development, Flutter. You can also use Java to build Android application. I created a mobile app one time for Android for the Android platform, and I used Java and I used the IDE Android Studio. So that was a fun little project that I did there. Um, so yeah, so if you want to get into mobile development, you have that option as well. Now, as you learn both of these skill sets, then you consider full stack. All right. So other than that, any questions on the roadmap, you guys, before we get into the next section? The next section is the fun part. We're going to talk about how you're going to get experience and get paid. Any questions on on this part, this learning roadmap?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead,
man,
Daniel.
sorry I caught you, man. Um, um, I'm kind of on this part where you cited where you have take it up a little bit. No, bring it down. Where we have the CSS, the JavaScript, and
Okay.
the Reacts. So where this is where I am at the moment, using this environment, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React as a front-end developer. So how can I utilize these resources? Because at the moment, I'm working on one sprint that I need to turn up in my school. When I saw when you shoot that email, like join the master's class, I was super excited. I'm like, okay, so this is an opportunity for me to learn more skill set. Like I said earlier, I'm not tired of learning. The day I stop to learn, that's the day I will die. So
Okay.
how can I utilize this HTML? Like you said, is the foundation. And now I want to get a job to get my foot in the door, like I cited in American Airlines. So using this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and React, do you already think this can actually make Daniel get this job in American Airlines? Because one of the man said, you need to understand you want to go into like the healthcare, you want to go to into the banking industry, you want to go to they mentioned a lot of them, but he said you need to understand your domain. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what domain are you like talking about like right now? Because you know, I'm kind of like curious, I'm kind of confused at that point. So, like you said, the other sprint before I got into my sprint 11 right now, we do what I call the code signal, where you'll be allowed to take over the screen,
Mm.
take over the take over the screen. You're going to write your code. You're going to explain the code for people like and able to teach them to like understood what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, Daniel, yeah, I'm ready, but I need to know more exactly what I'll be expected at the job.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so is your all right, so that's well, thank you for the statement. So your question is what's expected of you on the job besides the
Yes,
development aspect?
yes, it's using this tool, this HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and
Okay.
React, like I said, that's the foundation. So what
Mm.
are my expectation? Like, okay, you say you're a software developer, you're a software engineer, and you familiarize yourself with this foundation. So we need you to do this. Daniel, okay, here's the screen. Go ahead, type in your code and explain this to us. How do I utilize this class to enable me? I mean, I think I need to get to one-on-one so that I can, where I need to have the technical questions so that I can be ready to prepare myself,
Yeah.
stand out in the job market.
Yeah, well, I could just speak from experience. So, if you're talking with with the stakeholders, right?
Yes.
Um Stakeholders, they don't care too much about like which technology that you use to build this application. For
Mm-hmm.
example, they're not going to care. They just want to know you got the software works. But
Mm-hmm.
the biggest thing that you probably want to talk about a lot in those one-on-one conversation with the business is, let's say something goes wrong. You gotta have the ability to articulate, all right, the reason why the app broke this morning because
Mm-hmm.
the ETL job wasn't working, or oh, we did a deployment last night and it
Mm-hmm.
didn't work. It's because of this code, and now we have a solution to fix it and then redeploy
Mm-hmm.
it again. So I think the biggest skill the biggest skill that I have to learn that I didn't expect that I had to get good at is being able to articulate what's going on in your code, why
Mhm,
is it happening, and what is the solution to fix it. Because
mhm,
stuff is going to break, and stakeholders are going to ask you, "Hey, this is not working. Why is it not working? Do you have a solution?" Da, da, da. And so, getting good at answering those questions.
mhm.
Number
So,
two,
so can
document.
I say that is the debugging phase? Like I need to debug it? Is that like the debugging stage? But I know how to debug, right? But I
Mhm.
need to know, like I said, know when to debug, especially when you're using the screen, you click on the screen, like it's hard coded. When you click on the screen, it's not working. At that point, I'm going to use what's it called? My console. Like, okay, check on what's happening in my console. I need to debug, I need to test, I need to look at where my code is being broken, right? So basically, you're really doing a lot of justice to where I'm kind of a little bit stuck. So thank you very much. At least I get it like right now. Honestly, I do get it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. And I got and if I could share one more thing with you, Daniel,
Yes, ma'am.
I think one of the biggest things I didn't realize that was an important skill for me to know as a
Mhm.
developer is documentation. I have
Right.
to document everything, everything about the like if you join a company and you're learning about their code base, document everything
Okay.
because sometimes the stakeholders they'll ask you questions like, "Oh, do you happen to know do you know happen to know where this data is coming from?" You can't just tell them, "Well, I don't, I don't know." You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
when you do
I
your
will. You're right.
technical, so doing technical analysis and document the legacy code base, I think that's one of the
Mhm.
biggest skills that they don't
Mhm.
talk about
Mhm.
anywhere at all, like on YouTube or if you were to Google something like they don't talk about that a lot. Like that's probably one of the most important skills as a developer is being able to look at the legacy code, do your technical analysis of the
Mhm.
current existing code base, document
Mhm.
on it, and be able to articulate it. So the stakeholders
Mhm.
can just ask you whatever. They look at you like you're the it guy. Like you should know everything
Right.
inside and out. So I think that's one of the fun challenges of being a developer. You're the it
Mm.
guy. You gotta know
Sounds
everything.
right. Sounds great. Sounds good, man. That's true.
It is
Absolutely true,
true.
man.
I think that's something that I definitely underestimated when I first got into this field. Like, oh my gosh, like they look at me like, I gotta know everything. So I have to gotta know the ins and outs and everything. Even the managers, like your IT managers, they may have
Mhm.
been technical at some point in their careers, but as managers, they lean on the developers to explain to them, hey, what's going on with this application? How does this application work? Where's it getting the data from? Is the data cache or is it generating the data as as it's executing SQL statements to the tables? Sitting
Mhm.
against you know what I'm saying? So being able to answer those questions. So technical analysis is probably a skill that you really need to get good at that they don't talk
Great.
about at all on YouTube. Throw that in there
Great.
as a freebie, you guys. Um, all right, sounds good. Let's get into how you can gain some experience. So, how to become recession-proof software engineer and increase your cash flow. Um, like I shared in my introduction, I did not get a software engineering job right away. It took me a really long time to break in for my first full-time role. This is back then. So I promise you guys, what you guys are seeing in the job market, it's not that unusual. That is not that unusual. Like, yes, it's a little bit tougher because of the economy and the corporations they're pinching their pennies, so to speak, because of the economy. But other than that, like anytime you try to switch into a new career, it's always that first role. Break into that first role because once you break into that first role, it gets a little bit easier later on. Just a matter of just breaking in. So I could totally relate. Despite of the job market and the economy and etc. All right. All right. So, here are several ways that I kind of maximize my skill set as a software engineer. Outside of my 9 to 5 and just finding other ways to keep my skill set fresh. So yes, you can work for corporate America. I've been a contractor before. I've been a contractor for the state of New Jersey before. I've been a contractor for small businesses, e-commerce businesses. I've done that in the past. So you could be a short-term contractor, which is where I made the most money. There was a project I worked on a couple years ago. It was during Christmas time from from October to January. And that project alone, I made over $20,000. Now, they didn't pay me up front 20K, but they budget the whole software development project to 20K. And I did that on the side while I was working my 9 to 5. Um, and it wasn't
Wow.
till, yeah, I know. That's why I said I was like, oh, okay, Jesus, okay. Let me stop. Okay. I'm like this coding thing could really work out. Because it's such technology is such a necessity nowadays. Every business needs it, and they're willing to pay top dollar if you're able to deliver what they're looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um, yeah, and don't ever cheap yourself out. If you're ever a contractor and they tell you, then your price, don't go cheap. Don't go cheap on yourself. Um, Only reason why that is that it just, it takes labor, it's a lot of work. You may have to bring in other developers and give them a cut of the pay as well. So that's pretty cool. So I've been a contractor and I've been an entrepreneur. So entrepreneur as in I have my own software company. I built applications for small businesses. I have ran small development teams before. I've done the code, I've done the tutoring, the coaching, and etc. So those are some of the entrepreneurial routes that I've taken with this code set, with the skill set software development. And there
So,
is
ma'am, have you ever used like, sorry to cut you, have you ever used a lead code, like lead code? You use that application called lead code?
You said leak code?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh yeah, of course. Because everybody on YouTube tells you, oh yeah, to prepare for the interview, sit through thousands of hours of leak code. Let me tell
Right.
you, it's a colossal waste of time. It is a colossal waste of time. If somebody would have told me that back then, hindsight,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Christina, don't spend all your time on leak code, I probably not have done it because the majority of the interview questions, it has nothing to do with leak code. Nothing. It's all
Are you seriously? Because that's what I use lead code and what's it called, learnertrace.com. So sometimes I'm going to lead code, like, okay, I need to type in my code. Where did I make it wrong? I put it on
no.
learner.trace.com.
Yeah,
And
Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. So don't get me wrong, Daniel. I'm not saying leak code is bad. I'm not saying that you
no, I'm
shouldn't
not
use it
saying
at
that. Yeah,
all.
I'm
But
not saying that.
you're not gonna see it as much in the interview. Like there might be some companies that may use it for the pre-screening, like
Mm-hmm,
the screening call, like they'll say like a little assessment. So I think it's
mm-hmm,
good for if you want to practice coding exercises and stuff like that to prepare you for
mm-hmm,
the pre-screening. I think it's good
mm-hmm.
for that. But I
Okay,
wouldn't spend all your time on it. It's better for you to
right.
build applications than you spending so much time on leak code.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Hope you, yeah.
You're flowing. Honestly, you're flowing my spirit. Like you're answering all the questions I'm kind of having. But though I have a career coach anyway, that sometimes I do ask him some
Oh no,
silly
you're fine.
questions. So he was like, Daniel, you just want to know everything at the same time. So because you have no idea.
yeah.
Es- Especially you're meeting a recruiter, or let me say, especially those that are in the forefront at now, then they are asking you questions just to throw you off balance. And you're like, oh, so it's like, I'm not ready. I
Mm,
mean, for me, it's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? So
mm.
all things being equal is is an eye opener with this class. It's going to be like an eye opener for me. I am ready, like super ready.
Cool. Cool. I'm glad it's been helpful, man. I glad it's been helpful, Daniel. And I hope it's been helpful for everybody else as well. That's giving you clarity on the whole software development space. So I'm glad that this is extremely helpful for you. That's the whole point of this class. So that's cool. All right. So other ways that you can utilize your software development knowledge and skill set is become a subject matter expert. So I'm sure you guys have seen this. And I know plenty of people who have gotten jobs by being a subject matter expert on the side. So for example, I have a good buddy of mine. He writes blogs on Medium about software development concepts. There's folks who do YouTube videos, tutorials, and stuff like that, creating coding courses and stuff like that. So being a subject matter expert, even if you're a beginner, it's not about being a beginner. It's about showing proof of how much do you know. It's about being an authority, being credible. Because that's the thing about employers, right? They want to see if you're a credible hire. They want to see you know what you're talking about and how much you utilize these skill sets. So one way I love to leverage my software development skill is becoming a subject matter expert, right? That's how I got into software development coaching because I have so much knowledge and experience and just so much I've been exposed to in the space. I felt comfortable enough to teach it to somebody else and help them get results as well. All right. So there's different avenues. You can try different things there. So that's the first step. Another thing that you can get into is technical writing. This is huge, y'all. This is huge. I don't know. People talk about this. I feel like I should have charged for this course. Technical writing. So there's a lot of companies out there, especially small businesses, who has a lot of technology, different tech stacks, and different systems and processes. So they have all these different tools they use in their business, but it's not documented. It's not an SOP. So if they want to bring in a new hire and train someone on their system, they don't have documentation. They kind of just they have to take time out of their day to teach them. So you could take your software development skill set and knowledge. If you like writing, you can actually have the small business hire you to be their technical writer. Hey, write up all of our processes, articulated, create our diagrams so that way. And you can make a lot of money doing that, especially on the side. Now, I'm not a big writer myself personally. I'm just not a writer, but I know some folks who are technical writers by night and they do software development by day. And they actually work with a lot of like the mom pop shops, businesses. If they want to, I know for a lot of small businesses, if they want to create like a they have like an app idea and they just want somebody to write it down and be able to write a technical document on that process. That's what that's what it's there for. And there's also 9 to 5 roles as technical writers too. But I like this, like you make more money on the side. Like if you could do this as a side hustle on the side, that's amazing. Plus, it counts as experience too. It's building your credibility and your authority. All right. Number 3, building no code and low code applications. So this is one of my favorite things I like to do when I'm trying to, if I want to make extra money or whatever, or if I'm trying to get some experience, as a developer, I will use the combination of custom code, being able to build a custom application and utilizing low code application platforms, kind of like Bubble, for example. You can build an application without using code, but there's some parts of the application that you might need to develop. So that's what I mean by low code development, and it still shows some level of expertise and experience in that area. All right. Now you can also build full-fledged web and mobile applications for clients without using those tools, like Bubble, for example, or a Softer. That's another tool you can use that's like low code development. But you can also build full-fledged applications end to end, especially if the requirement is complex and requires more custom type of work. You can build full-fledged web and mobile app applications for clients. You can bring on your own team, for example, or work with one other person. So that's pretty cool. So these 2 ways, I think Casey asked the question about gaining experience. Um, these are the top 2 that I did to gain experience: build no code, low code applications, and building full fledged applications. These are my top 2 ways I gain experience. I've gotten clients over the years. And when I gotten clients, and I think once I made past 10K, I decided to open up an LLC and all that and get all the tax write offs. For those who live in the United States, if you make 6 figures, which you will when you're a software engineer, you will make a lot of money. Yeah, you're gonna need a way to get some tax breaks because these taxes are ridiculous. So I decided to open up an LLC because I started making like a lot of money on the side outside of my 9 to 5. And these are my bread and butter, the low code applications and building full-fledged applications. And sometimes I will outsource the work. Sometimes I don't even do all the work myself. I don't. Sometimes I will outsource it and pay them to do it. And I'll come back and tell them. But they want to know, listen, the client won't even know the difference. As long as I do the technical analysis and I know exactly what's happening in the code and I'm able to go in there, fix it as needed, that's all that matters. So these are two great ways to get experience as well, and it helps build credibility. Just as much as being a subject matter expert and you're writing blogs and you're doing videos and etc. Christina asks, will we get a copy of the sheet of the end of the masterclass? Yeah, sure. I can send this over to you guys. Just give me till tomorrow. Because I know there's a lot of folks who were supposed to be in this call, but they didn't. They want recordings and stuff. So I'll send out the sheet with the recording as well. All right. So I'll send it to your email. Great question, Christina. I feel like talking to myself. Nice to meet you, Christina. All right. All right.
You're not talking to yourself. We're flowing in spirit with you. I want to see this part you said code tutor. You can be a code tutor if you're excellent with teaching coding concepts and you like working with people to help them gain an understanding in
Oh,
learning.
you're
I
asking
can
me?
do that.
Yeah, yes, you can. You can, if you are very comfortable with software development concept as a whole, and you could teach it to somebody else, why not?
Mhm.
You don't have to be employed to a 9 to 5 to be credible software engineer. Like,
I
you don't have to be like, oh, I have to have a job for me to be credible. Like, no, like if you know how to write a function and somebody else is struggling how to create a function, or they have an issue with their code and they're stuck in their code and there's an error, then if you can help them out, why not? If you have the skill set, you can, yeah.
so I
Um,
think what is kind of holding me behind now, I need to create my own Zoom or something, getting my domain. So that is where I'm kind of a little bit stuck. How do I get my own Zoom set up using React?
yeah.
So I think that is what I need to work on.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could do it. Like, yeah. I feel like for a lot of folks, you guys, I don't know if you guys been learning code for a while or not, but yeah, the biggest thing that might be holding yourselves back is you.
Right.
That's yeah. Let's just be real. Like in 2024, it is too easy to make extra money on the side, especially if you have a skill set that is extremely in demand and lucrative. Let's just
Um,
like coding is needed everywhere, regardless if you got to teach it, build it, coach it, just like in all different areas. So definitely leverage it. This is the time. If there's any time to leverage it, it is now. Um, well,
but
once you get good at
but
development,
yeah,
obviously, right?
I'll still come to your school of thought anyway, so that I can learn more from you. I don't mind.
Okay, sounds good. Awesome. Yes. Tisa asks, I enjoyed the class so much. People really missed out. I know your premium class will do well. You may see me back here. All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm sure you're in the group and you follow me on Facebook, but I'll post it when that comes out. I'm gonna do like a premium version of this class later on. It's gonna be a little more technical. As you notice in this class, because you notice in this class, I didn't go into too much technical. There's no code because this is purely just to get you guys' feet wet. This is just to get your palate wet and see if this is what you really want to do or not. But before I fill the full back of the hood. All right. All right, perfect. Thank you, Tashi. And then if you guys don't mind, let me take a pause here for those who may have to make a quick exit for whatever reason. In the group, if you mind posting your experience in the class, feel free to put it in any of the postings that I have posted here in the group.
Well, you're
If you go
supposed
in
to
the
see me on
group
this
and put
group
like a
because I was
review,
chatting
that'd be
with you
awesome.
today. I was chatting with you today, so you should have seen me right there, but I'm not there.
All right, cool. Love it.
You're supposed to see Daniel because I saw this your page. That was where I actually signed up. When at least you and I were chatting today on your page, and that's where like read everything that you
Oh,
said, shoot me an email. No, I asked you what's the password ID. Then I said no ID. But I'm
oh,
surprised.
you're that person. Okay. Okay. All
Yes,
right.
ma'am. I
I
was the
see.
person I was chatting
Okay.
with.
All right,
So
cool. So all right. So I've talked to you before. Okay, cool. So and Tashi said she feels like I answered all your Google searches over the last month. Oh, I great. I summarized all that for you and more probably. Awesome. I'm glad this has been helpful for you guys. Awesome. Another way you can also make money too as well with software development is AI and automation. AI is huge. It is huge. It is huge. Um, if you have a good solid foundation of the Python language, you could really develop an AI product as well. So this is pretty cool. Plus you can this is something you can add to your resume for your employer. So it's pretty cool getting into that space. All right. All right, awesome. So got into towards the end of my presentation, you guys. Oh, got towards the end of my presentation. So for you guys who don't know, I am a software engineer coach. So if you need coaching in any of the areas that I have discussed during the call today, feel free to reach out to me. If you have questions or you want me to review your resume, this is my email. This is how you can reach out to me. I know you guys are friends with me on Facebook or you're in the group. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or you're like, hey, Christina, I'm interested in some of your coaching services or your courses. I create a whole bunch of resources throughout the years. So feel free to let me know and I can send you that information. All right, cool. So the biggest thing, I think the biggest lesson I have learned throughout my transition is that there's tons of information out there. There's tons
Right.
of information out there. A lot of them are free. The biggest thing that they don't tell you is the implementation. How do you take all this information and how do you implement it for your specific career path? All right.
Mm-hmm,
Specifically for
mm-hmm.
you. I think that's the biggest challenge. And I'm sure
You're
some of you guys
right.
will agree.
Yeah, of course. And that's the truth. You've said it all. Because we kind of accessing these resources, but we don't know how to utilize these resources effectively.
Exactly. Right. There's a thing called information overload, right? I remember when I was going through my transition, I was like, there's so much information. I don't know who to listen to, who's right, who's wrong. Am I focusing on the right area? And da da da. So I remember those days. So if there's one thing I would have done differently in my transition is definitely got some help, got some guidance, and that would have picked things up a little more quicker on my end. But you don't you know what you don't know until you guys know. So I'm passing on the information to you. If there's anything you guys have questions on, don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you're interested in my software development coaching, I do teach and cover all the areas that we talked about in this call. Learning how to maximize your skill set, make a little extra money on the side. I'll teach you how to do that. Learning how to code, all those different areas. I do cover that as well. Other than that concludes the masterclass. I hope you guys gain a lot from this training tonight. Um, I'm gonna leave the last 10 minutes for a Q&A session. So for those who didn't have the opportunity to ask your questions or anything, this is the time to ask. So, um, any questions you guys have or any thoughts or anything before I end the call?
So tomorrow, what time are you going to start tomorrow? Because I would have loved to have you personally for myself. I don't want to be like too selfish. I want to like have you personally for myself. Hey, girl, how are you going to help Daniel get his foot on the door? Like I said,
Yeah.
I want to do that personal. Like, okay, I don't know. Maybe I need to meet so you can teach me the technical skill,
Mm,
technical words, how to use them, how to align them. Yeah,
yeah.
I think I need to meet you one on one. Just I don't mind. I don't mind paying for it. I don't mind.
Oh yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So wait, you're friends with me on Facebook, right, Danielle?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Just shoot me a message. Just DM me coaching, and then I'll send you my form. You can fill it out, and then you get on my calendar.
Sounds
And
great to me.
all right, sounds good. Just shoot me a message on Facebook. And this is my profile. This is my profile name on Facebook, so you guys can I'll put in the chat.
I'm on
Uh,
Facebook. I'm on
direct
Facebook.
message me here,
I'm on Facebook already. So let me see if I
and
can reach here.
as promised, you guys, I'll send you the slide either tomorrow. Just give me 48 hours because it takes me time to get the recordings and get that uploaded and stuff like that. Um, here
Okay,
is
okay. I think I'm seeing you, Christina Bedford, mentioned in
yeah.
the comment.
My profile to look like me. I'm kidding.
Yes, you're looking cute, man. Okay, I'm down. I'm kind of cheating your reply. I'm down.
That's my email. Awesome. And if you guys want to, I think Casey mentioned it. Like, if you guys want me to look at your resume real quick and see what's going on there, feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat as well. If you want to, like, hey, can you look at my resume real quick? I'm not getting interviews. I'm sure it's something real small that could be fixed or adjusted that could make a huge difference. So feel free to do that as well.
I think I would.
Task.
I think I would need more of your calendar lead. As in like at least calendar you. I think that's what I would need more. Like your
Okay.
calendar, where I can like
Yeah,
book an
yeah.
appointment with you, ma'am.
Yes. So, you want to do the one-on-one coaching session? You want to do the one-on-one coaching session for 1 hour?
Yes, ma'am. I don't mind.
Okay, awesome. All right, let me send you that link. Let me, let me grab that real quick for you. I'll just put it in the chat for those who are interested. Um, mm, and then as you're scheduling the call, make sure you let me know in the notes what you want to discuss. That helps me
Yes,
out
ma'am.
a lot.
You get
And
prepared. Yes, ma'am.
sounds good. Thank you. Uh, copy link. Put this here.
Yeah, to use your Facebook link. Your calendar list not popping up on.
Okay, let me do it one more time. Uh,
What's your Facebook link that is there?
okay, let me pull it up right here. Okay. All right.
Great.
One-on-one coaching session link above. Fantastic. All right, cool. Awesome. Case Tassia said, thank you so much. You were great. I appreciate you taking the time to give us this information. Of course. All right. Rakuya said this is really informative. Hopefully this helped you guys, give you guys more clarity on the software development space. Thank you for getting the point. You're welcome, Christina. Yep. Getting to the point. Yeah. No fluff. Keep it straight. Yeah. Keep it straight and narrow, straight to the point. Oh God. I've never when I used to be on, I never when I was I was a beginner and I'll go on YouTube and everybody be posting day in the life videos, day in the life videos. And I'm like, I don't care about your day in the life. Tell me how to tell me how to be a good software engineer or a good developer. Um, oh, Casey answered, how will I access the recording? Okay, so I'm gonna send you guys a link. So you guys I got everybody's email. You guys got the Zoom link through the email.
Right.
So I have you guys' email. So I'm gonna send a link to you guys once I upload it, and then I'll send you guys the link. You guys have access to the recording, okay? Give me 24 to 48 hours to kind of get that prepared for you guys, including the notes. Um, and that's it. And that's pretty much it here. I'm checking the comments. Great question, Casey. And I did not cover it, so don't worry. Don't worry about apologizing. And Daniel said, great job. Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna capture these wonderful comments so I can just put it in my accomplishments notes. All right. Any other thoughts, you guys, before we end the call? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. Awesome. So to give you guys a heads up, the reason why I have you guys go into my Facebook group because I do trainings every single week. So if you enjoy this masterclass, you're like, hey, I want to get more of Christina and her trainings. I do trainings, I do live trainings inside the Facebook group every single week for the most part. I'll post in the group once or twice during the week, value posts to help you with your transition and also you're part of the email list as well. So I send like a newsletter once a week to keep you guys up to date and inform and help you guys with your transition. All right. So that's why I have you guys go to the Facebook group. That way we can all stay in touch. All right. This is not a one time.
Yes, I think I like that Facebook thing because that's a first. I barely go on Facebook because people go to like Instagram. But I'm a social person, but using all
Mhm.
these other social medias, I'm kind of like people don't do put something that is not for me informative. So when I see this data thing today, I'm like, oh, I'm going to hop on this. This is the first thing I'm seeing on Facebook.
Oh
First
wow.
time in Facebook that I really like join. Apart
Wow.
from the person that referred me to this social software class, her name is Consuela. She's not actually sign me up in this group. But other than
Really?
that, if you see other things on Facebook, you're like, are these people really serious or something? So, but
Oh,
then everybody trying to consume things that are not even important. But when I saw this, I'm like, this is going to be one of the roadmap of things that I needed to consume. Other than that, I don't join anything on Facebook. Like me,
oh
Daniel,
wow.
no, I'm the wrong person. Like,
Oh man, that's awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Glad we happen to cross paths, man. That's awesome.
Honestly, man, I'll sign up tomorrow definitely to get more of the transfer of knowledge. I want to say thank you for this great job. Keep up the good job.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, we
Thank
got
you.
you, man. We're gonna
Um,
I'm gonna jump into your class and like follow along, like learn more from you, man.
all right, sounds good. Thank you so much, Daniel. I appreciate the kind words. This is definitely the reason why I keep doing what I do. For real. Yeah. Because you don't know how much you're making an impact until you hear it, right? So I appreciate your kind words. Appreciate you. All right, sounds good. All right, well, I'll let you
Thank
guys
you.
go. You guys have a
Thank you for
great
having me. Yes, thank you for having us, man.
yes. You guys have a great night. Thank you for coming, Daniel, Simon, Casey Williams. Thank you for your participation. Pamela, Christina. You guys enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you guys inside the group, all right? And in the inbox if you happen to chat soon. Take care.